Bill here with the Metals Minute. Today is Wednesday, April 26, 2023. Well, we have 3 out of 4 metals higher for the week. Gold is up just a little bit. Silver is up a fraction. Platinum's up 1%. Palladium is down 1%. And then for the 1 year, we have also 3 out of 4 metals higher, with gold up a solid 5.8%. We have silver up 9% for 1 year ago today. And platinum takes the cake, up 19% since a year ago. Now, palladium is down again. Remember, the war between Russia and Ukraine started about a year and a month ago. And so palladium shot way up because about 40% of that is produced in Russia. But as the issue has settled down somewhat, or it hasn't, the conflict hasn't settled down, but the issue about palladium and the fears were a little bit overblown, and so palladium has come way down, and there's maybe a 20-some% drop since a year ago today. All the details are in the write-up there. But we have some good things going on with gold and silver. And one of the things happening is last year we had the highest amount of record central bank purchases of gold. And that has continued throughout so far in 2023. So there's still solid demand for gold from central banks around the world. One of the reasons for that is we have close to 30% of all the economies around the world are currently sanctioned by Western nations. Now that means that they're unable to use the SWIFT system for cross-border exchanges, or they're unable to access their dollar reserves or use those. One or the other of those two things, or both. And in any case, nations have to trade. So if they're not allowed to use the dollar, they're not allowed to use the SWIFT system, then they're going to have to use something else. And what is often turned to in times like that is gold. And so even though they're trying to challenge some of these nations with all these sanctions, we have to wonder if sometimes it's not coming back on us because at the expense of the dollar, and that seems to be what's happening. Gold is increasing in terms of usage around the world, both as a trading mechanism and as a reserve, highlighting its status as a store of value. Versus the dollar. The dollar is being used less, and part of the reason is we have not allowed certain nations to use it. So for better or worse, regardless of what side of that fence you're sitting on, the beneficiary is gold and those that hold gold. And of course silver is also catching a bid. As I mentioned, it's up not quite twice as much as gold in the 1 year term from a year ago today. So typically we see gold and silver, they don't move in opposite directions very often. So whenever we see gold tending to rise, we'll see silver also rise. And typically silver will outpace gold in either direction. And so something we also see this week, a report came out by SAXO, which is an important, very large global investment management company. And what they're noticing is that even though we're facing recession and it looks like a slowdown in many of the economies around the world, the demand for commodities is continuing to remain strong. And as a reminder, commodities are things like energy, such as oil, food items, soybeans, for example, and precious metals are all in the category. 24 out of 28 different commodity items are in higher demand now than they were at the beginning of the year. So even though we see the economies slowing around the world and recession either already has started or all the signs are there that one is very near if it hasn't already begun, even in spite of that, commodities remain strong. And I want to encourage you to hang in there if you're a precious metals investor, because that's the very same environment that we saw back in the mid to late 1970s and early 80s when gold and silver outperformed most every other asset. And so as commodities continue to do well, that continues to tell us that this is the type of situation we're in where gold and silver will continue to do well. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.